Hold on. Hold on, guys. I see. Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Got it? Okay, I hope everything's good. Let me know. Alright, I see exultant cheers, so I think I'm okay now. Alright, give me explicit confirmation that you can hear everything that I'm saying right now, please. Kabuki Kid only hears my mouse clicking. Cool. Alright, thank you. Sorry about that. I don't know, every now and then this thing just gives me agita. I don't know why that is. Let me just check to make sure that you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Cool. Cool, alright. Let's start over. My name is Nick. This is Board Game Brawl. In case you are new here, this is a live Q&A. I do these every couple of weeks, assuming I don't sleep through them. That was just once. And you guys can ask me, guys and girls, can ask me anything you want. Anything that you want to throw at me, I will do my best to answer, unless it's like really offensive. Even then, I might still answer it, or at least ask the question out loud. So we're going to go ahead and go from the beginning and try to answer every question that I can. At some point, I'm going to show you a bunch of new games I got in over the last couple weeks, either from picking them up at Cool Stuff, or from companies for review, or games I just traded for. I had a lot of really good trades come in over the past couple of days, although I also got seriously jacked up on this latest math trade I was just in, and the results are in dispute, so I'm hoping the whole thing gets wiped away, because I got totally my fault. But anyways, let's go to this top here. Chris wants to know, have I ever played Last Will? Yes, I have Last Will on my shelf. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I only played it like twice though, and it's been a while, so I don't really feel comfortable in reviewing it right this second. I also got the expansion as like I think I got that as part of a trade or something. And so I really want to try the expansion as well, and then maybe I'll review it at some point. I don't think that game gets enough love. It's really cool and thematic. Nick, how do you go about looking for games on Kickstarter? What are some things you look for in a game before pledging to it? Well, Kickstarter is all about first impressions, and it's definitely a very shallow system, because how a game looks, the image that they use for their front cover, and the photos that they have on the page, and the component quality is immediately going to grab me or not. And then I'll start doing research like, what is this game about? Does it have a rule book? What are some things that you can tell me about how it actually plays? And if you can't give me good answers to that question, I'm probably going to move along. But you have to make a good first impression. I mean, it's sales, right? There are people hawking their wares. Even if you want to think of it as like a fundraising thing, that's fine, and it is in some cases. But it's still people hawking their wares, and you have to drag me in. You have to hook me with whatever it is. I personally am susceptible to anime-themed art, assuming it's actually good. Cool-looking miniatures, fantasy. If you can drag me in with that kind of theme, I'm more likely to take a look at your project. And then as far as gameplay goes, I want to see that you know what I want to see that you know that other games exist. I think a lot of people on Kickstarter who make Kickstarter projects and want to make a new game make projects that with like the assumption that like 20 years of innovations in board games never happened, like that Seven Wonders never happened, so here's a card drafting game that's clearly inferior to Seven Wonders, or that Settlers of Catan or any of these other games just never occurred because they've never played them, because they never did their research and their due diligence. And you can immediately tell that when you see some games. You're like, oh, this is like that game I've played before, but clearly inferior. So there's a whole smorgasbord of things that I look for in a Kickstarter, but if it grabs me right away, I'm willing to give it a shot. All right, so let's move on. Did you back the Epic card game? I actually did. And hey, Bill Nye, I doubt that's really Bill Nye. Did you back the Epic card game? I actually did. By weird coincidence, right when I had a bunch of pledges go through, my credit card was reported by my bank as being reported for fraud, because while I was in Orlando on the way back, I stopped off at some really shady gas station off the I-4, and one of the, there's this big thing that goes on. I think it goes on over the country, but especially in Florida, people put these like little devices on the pump at a gas station. So when you swipe your card, it steals your credit card information. And they did that to me. And luckily, they only charged one thing to it, and it was a TV for like $2,000, which my card immediately rejected. If they had tried to do little stuff, I probably wouldn't have noticed for quite some time. But in any case, I had to cancel that card and get a new one. And in that time, like 3 different Kickstarters tried to charge my card, and Epic was one of them, and unfortunately I forgot about it, and they only give you like a 7-day period to fix it. So I'm kind of screwed there. I'm sure I can contact them and get in on it if I want to, and I probably will, but it seems neat. I'm going to give it a shot. Arcadia Quest versus Super Dungeon Explorer, the pros and cons of each. First and foremost, they are very different games. I understand that I say this all the time. I understand that they both have an anime theme, kind of feeling like a video game, and that they both have chibi anime miniatures. They both look really good. It looks very bright and vibrant and kind of a violent type combat system. But how they actually play it when you sit down to do it is completely different. I mean, Super Dungeon Explorer, it's either one versus all or fully cooperative, and it plays more like Gauntlet, the video game, just smashing through monsters and getting to spawn points, kind of brainless in a way. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it's just kind of like hack and slash, right? Whereas Arcadia Quest is like, I want to say team-based combat. Not that each player is on a team, but that you have a whole squad of people. It's squad combat, and it's purely competitive. You can team up on one player if you want to, but for the most part, you're at each other's throats. It's a campaign, and you're getting items. It's very different. I would say that if you're more partial to Dungeons and Dragons and want more of that feel, then Super Dungeon Explorer is for you. And they will be coming out with campaign rules for that eventually, like with the next expansion. Excuse me while I scratch my foot. But if you like more competitive games, and if you like just like brutal combat and jacking up the other players and stealing their stuff and that kind of quest-based, objective-based competitive games, then you want to go for Arcadia Quest. I like them both. I might actually be leaning towards Arcadia Quest more. That's a change from last year. Do you know of any story narrative-driven board games for 2 players? Fallen, I think. I wasn't really keen on Fallen, and it's no longer in my collection. Or won't be very soon. I made a trade for it. But it definitely is story and narrative driven. And it is explicitly for 2 players. Overlord or Dungeon Master or whatever they're called versus the hero. And you're reading off of story cards and the hero is making decisions. It is a very cool game. It just has some problems. You can watch my review. But that's the first one that immediately pops into mind. What are some light family games that aren't language dependent? A few of my family members can't reference English or read English very well, I'm sure you meant to say. There's a ton. There really is a ton. Any of the, you said light family games. If that's the case, as much as it pains me, because I personally do not like this game, Carcassonne is like the go-to for that. I'm pretty sure Carcassonne is completely language independent. I haven't played it in a while. So there's that. Lost Cities is great if you are thinking of something for 2 players. I'm just thinking of something that's kind of not just language independent, but kind of neutral, so that you can play them. You might be more likely to play it with casual gamers in your family. If you want to go for something a little bit heavier, any game from Stefan Feld is language independent, I think. Some of them might, Bruges has card effects. That's a bit of a problem. But other games of his don't, but they are on the heavier side, of course. Settlers of Catan is language independent, I think. Oh, no, it's not either. There is some language there. That's a tough one. I would like the rest of the audience to chime in on this for sure. What are some light family games? I'll read them out as people suggest them. What are... I already read that already. Let's see. Who flagged this as spam? Yeah, okay, that's spam. Poor kid. Nick, what are some games that you feel are overrated and cringe when you hear others go on about them, minus Welcome to the Dungeon? Well, there are a lot. I just mentioned one of them, Carcassonne. I am not really high on Power Grid. I don't hate Power Grid, though. I think Power Grid's a fine game. It's just totally not for me, and I don't understand why it's so popular. It's funny. I would have said Viceroy earlier in the week. What else? There's been plenty, but those are the ones that spring immediately to mind. Oh, Agricola. Agricola's fine. I don't know why people enjoy it that much. I'm hoping Caverna is much better. Mage Knight I was very disappointed by, but I'm talking about, these are top 10 games. Puerto Rico looks incredibly boring to me, and I have no interest in playing it. So I could be wrong. It could be awesome. But yeah, there's a lot of games. I consider myself one of like the neo board gamers, meaning that I missed out on the modern birth of Euro games between like the 1990 to 2005 or something like that. So a lot of those games look dreadful to me, and some of them that I've played have been dreadful to me. So there's going to be a lot of games that can fall into that category. Nick, in regards to the Viceroy Scroll issue, who was the one who found out that tactic worked out? Was it you or a group member? Will you play it more with your group? Now, I believe that Adam is asking his questions before he asked it ahead of time before I issued my apology for totally jacking up the Viceroy review. And with regards to your question, though, we all kind of found that out. We played the game several times, and each time, like, some people were going for different strategies. I was trying to go for something different each time, but other people would just go for scrolls, and it became immediately apparent the way we were playing it incorrectly that was the way to go. We've since found out that you can go scrolls and do pretty well, but not really more well than anyone else doing other strategies like the circle strategy or the law cards and focusing on those. So I would disregard that for the most part. What are some adventuring dungeon crawl games that work well with only 2 players? Well, I did mention Fallen. I would kind of consider Fallen a dungeon crawl, though it's more of a tactical one-on-one card game. I would think, a lot of the games you would not suspect would work well, I think would work very well, like Mansions of Madness, because there's not a huge gulf of difference between having one player control a team of characters versus like the one. Especially like in Mansions of Madness, you don't get like a ton of actions. You have a lot of people in front of you that can be a little bit overwhelming, but play with the minimum amount of investigators. I think that would work pretty well. If you don't like Mansions of Madness, I know that's a pretty polarizing game. I think even Descent might work pretty well in that regard. A lot of the deduction games like Letters from Whitechapel. Well, okay, you're saying adventuring dungeon crawl. Well, let's stay on topic with that. Yeah, I would say that would work pretty well. Even something like Super Dungeon Explorer might work pretty well because, again, there's not a lot of deep strategy in that game. So you taking control of a team of people, it's just like, okay, this guy moves up, hits something, uses a special ability, boom, 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 boom. It's not overwhelming to use that many characters. At least that's how I felt about it. Your mileage might vary. What is the best way you have found to teach games? I am absolutely not the person to ask about this because I have to read so many rule books on the spot while we're teaching. But here's, Z mentioned that as one of his things that he hated most. The gaming archetypes or the gaming stereotypes that he hates the most is people that read from the rule book while they are teaching the game. But I do it all the time. But what I found has helped out about that is that, first off, I think I'm an okay speaker. I think that's part of the reason why I've built an audience. And I'm not being sarcastic. I don't think I'm that great, but people seem to tell me that I am. And I think that helps. And what I try to do is I try to enunciate and I try to speak lively. And as I'm teaching a game, if I'm reading from the rule book, I'll say, I will point out things on the board. Because people can't see what I'm seeing in the book. They can't see the examples. They can't see the sample pictures. But I can point things out from the board that's all set up ahead of time. Definitely set up ahead of time, then start reading the rules. And that really, really helps. And then I'll also say, I'll do recaps. That really helps. So I'll read through a paragraph, a wall of text, and before anyone can say, I'll say, okay, so to sum that up, this works like this works like this. If you trade this in, you get this, and then you get this many points, okay? Any other questions? Let's move on. It's a slow way, but it's the best way I've found to teach it. But definitely, before anything else, no matter how you are teaching the game in general, tell them what the victory conditions are. Explicitly, in detail, even if they don't know how to do it. Do that first, and then they know what they're working towards. Have you played Legends of Andor? Thoughts? I have played it. I enjoy it. It has been sitting collecting dust. Only it's a double-edged sword with Legend of Andor, because part of what makes it cool is that you go through these different scenarios, and it's expandable because you can get more scenarios, although unfortunately expansions have not been available over here. And because of that, because I don't want to burn out the game, I've been hesitant to like rush it to the table again and do a review of it, because I want to get the most out of it. And I've also heard that one of the scenarios, not even the last one, maybe the second to last one, is ridiculously hard. So, but I think it's great. I think it's like a puzzly Euro dungeon crawler. Not a dungeon crawler, but an adventure game. It's pretty interesting. That would definitely work well with 2 as well. Hey Nick, what did you think about Cold Express winning the Spiel des Jahres? I was rooting for Machikoro. I don't think I was rooting for Machikoro. Machikoro is a good game. Isn't it funny how I said that? Machikoro is a good game, but it's not a great game. And I played it a lot when it first came out, and then when the expansion came out, and I got kind of burned out on it because it really felt like it was going to be mostly the same every time. So I don't think that would have been like a great choice for the Spiel des Jahres, but I definitely would have picked it over Colt Express. You can watch my review of Cold Express. I was mostly positive on it. I thought it was neat, but I also said, I mean, there's some rough edges in this game. I don't think it's that great. I'm not really impressed with the 3D train, which is more of a pain to put together than anything else. Definitely would not have been my choice of those 3. Frankly, I think I like the game better than either of those 2, and I know that's surprising, but the game... One thing I don't think I pointed out very well in my review, if at all, was that is going to have limited shelf life. The game, is going to get burned out because I feel that we have gotten to within like 2 or 3 cards of going out. So I feel like the game is definitely solvable as hard as it is, and when that happens, will I really feel the impetus to play it again? Until, because when we get within 2 or 3, we're like, oh, we were almost there, we got to play it again. When we finally solve it, I feel like it's going to be like, oh, okay, let's put this away. That's my worry about that. I was more disappointed in the Kennerspiel, which is odd because I actually liked all 3 of the Kennerspiel nominees, but Broom Service, even though it's good... Sorry. Strange noise coming from my kitchen. Alright, I hope it's nothing. I hope it's not a serial killer. Even though I thought Broom Service was a good game, solid game, watch my review and I said as much, it was clearly inferior to the other 2 games. By a mile. And I understand that they probably went for that because it was more family weight, but that's not what the Kennerspiel is for. That's what the Spiel des Jahres is for. So I wish it had gone to Elysium. Elysium would have been my pick. And Orleans, even though I've only played it 1 time, is great. And I also would have gone for that above Broom Service as well. Sad. What do you think about buying online versus at a local game store? I want to support them, but it can be expensive. I've gone into this before, and I'll stand by what I said at that time, and that is that you don't owe anything to a game store. And I'm sorry. Maybe if you play there all the time, maybe you do owe them, at least morally, to purchase some stuff there. But at the same time, they can't expect you to go broke doing that, because if they can't compete with online stores, they can't compete. It's a sad thing, and I know that not every store can do it, but that's why I think that local game stores need to offer something else. Look, there was a store down here called GXE, Geek Extreme Entertainment, which was a staple of the Pompano Beach area for like more than 5 years. They moved around. They never made much money. It always seemed like they were barely in business, but they were a place for a lot of people to congregate. But Magic was the only thing keeping that store alive. They had a very small selection of games available for purchase, aside from CCGs and HeroClix, and they didn't sell. They never moved them to sell. They never made them attractive. They were super old games. It never felt like they were getting anything new in. They never made it appealing to want to buy games from them for that purpose. And they didn't really offer anything in the way of food other than just like, candy and stuff. So they went out of business, and to no one's surprise, finally. And I felt very bad about that. I'm not putting them down at all, but it's just an example that you need to offer something more, because it's obvious that people can't compete with online prices. You can't compete with Amazon. You can't compete with cool stuff. Even Miniature Market has really solid prices compared to the MSRP you would pay in a physical location other than cool stuff. So knowing that, they have to change their game plan. And I just can't really feel a ton of sympathy for them if they don't. And that's why I say you really don't owe it to them to buy games from them. Maybe other stuff. Maybe you work out some sort of deal and get a discount for your game group. I'm not saying that you do that. I don't know if that's what your example is. But if you do patronize a local game store to use their space, talk to them and say, we want to support you. I don't want to pay $60 for a game I can get for $40 or $45 online. Maybe you give us a group discount and people can buy some stuff. I mean, when people go to Cool Stuff for our monthly meetup, there people buy a ton of stuff off the shelf. Now that's Cool Stuff prices, but then again, they could have got that online with their like customer discount and paid the same or less. Why didn't they? It's because they're at the store. They were made to feel welcome. There's other stuff in food and drinks they could buy, and they felt inclined to help the store out. So I don't think you should feel obligated to patronize them, but talk to them and see if you can work something out. Have you watched Dude Perfect on YouTube? They have pretty cool videos. I've never heard of such a thing. Dude Perfect? I'm inclined to check that out briefly. Hold on a second. I skipped ahead a little bit, but that's okay. I want to look at that. What is Dude Perfect? Oh, does it just do like sports stuff? I don't know. Yeah, okay, it's like extreme sports. Probably not my thing. Maybe I'll check it out later. Maybe it's funny. Nick, here, I skipped some. Nick, what do you think? Nick, when a new expansion comes out for a game you really enjoy, do you feel the need to must have it? What is your new expansion? The newest expansion I got? I don't know. I don't think I've gotten like a really cool expansion for a little bit. I got some cool expansions for Guardians Chronicles, which might hopefully makes the game better. I haven't gotten to the Beyond the Grave expansion for Arcadia Quest yet, but I do feel compelled to get an expansion for a game I really love because it's just more of what I love. Sometimes I don't. Like, I haven't felt compelled to get every Thunderstone expansion or every even like every Zombicide expansion. I don't have Angry Neighbors yet, or a lot of the miniatures, or Imperial Assault. These are games that I enjoy, but I haven't really plumbed the depths of the base game. But for games that I play a lot, like Legendary, I will snatch up every expansion, or Cosmic Encounter. But those are like, top 20, top 10 games for me. Nick, do you think pre-ordering Ashes Rise of the Phoenixborn is worth it from Plaid Hat's website for the extra promo and pay the shipping costs? Well, I think they always give you a pretty good discount. I don't think it's quite as much as you would get from buying it from Cool Stuff, but it's they also get it a little bit earlier than Cool Stuff releases it. I've seen this in the past. So if you really want the game and you're willing to do it now, then yeah, I mean, there's no danger in doing so. Plaid Hat is going to deliver the game unless the world ends tomorrow. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. If it's just for the promo, I probably wouldn't do it. I assume you'd have other reasons for doing it because those promos would usually become available later in the Geek Store on Board Game Geek. All right, now we're caught up. No, I mean, we're not caught up, but I caught up to where I skipped questions. Were you interested in watching Terminator Genesis? I kind of was. Then I saw the reviews and said, oh, okay, no. Maybe when it comes out on video, I will watch it. But I was just burned by a movie that a lot of people a lot of people I know said was really good and made a lot of money and turned out to be pretty awful, and I should have listened to the critics, and that is Jurassic World. So I'm trying to be a little more discerning about that. I am sad that I never watched Mad Max while it was in theaters, and now it's gone from all of my local theaters. There's one theater that's like an hour away that's doing it, and I'm probably not going to have time to go see it. Nick, what are some missed opportunities you've seen with released games, like Arena of the Planeswalkers not using the other side of the game board? That's probably the most notable one of recent memory. There's been quite a few examples that, it's tough to think of things off the top of my head. I think Barbarossa could have been better in a lot of different ways. I don't fancy myself a game designer at all. I don't want to be a game designer, and I'm not going to tell people how they should make their game, but I can tell you what I like and what I don't like, and I can also analyze a game from the perspective of, okay, this game is very similar to other games that I've played, so I can compare Barbarossa to like Heart of Crown, and I can compare it to, things like that, and say, well, I wish this was in there, and I wish this was better. Now, Barbarossa is 5 years old, but still some things seem very obvious. Maybe have rotating cards coming in and out, so more different types of cards, only use certain stacks a la Dominion or Tanto Cuore, and cut the city deck in half, things like that. There are some games, that's just one example, but there are some games where it is patently clear that one or two things would have made the game better, but I never want to be the backseat driver. It just seems obvious to me, and I'm always willing to listen to designers who say, like, well, it's easy for you to say that, but we couldn't do it because of X, Y, and Z, which would have made the game worse. And I'm willing to accept that in some cases, but in some cases it seems pretty obvious they should have gone a different way. Nick, have you read the Berserk manga? I know you enjoyed the anime and movies. The manga is resuming next month after a 10-month hiatus. I have read some of it. I read through like the first couple of story arcs to the point where the manga went into the Golden Age, which is when a young Guts meets Griffith and the Company of the Griffin. Okay, I'm forgetting. Whatever his mercenary company is called. And I really enjoyed it, but it's hard for me to get the time to read manga. And now I feel like I'm so far behind, it's insane. Because I want to read the Attack on Titan manga as well. I want to catch up on Bleach and hopefully finish that monstrosity. I'm behind on the Hunter x Hunter manga. I just don't have time. But I do enjoy Berserk in any format. It's so good. Nick, have you ever tried out the Batman Arkham games? Yes, I have played Batman Arkham Asylum, and I've tried Batman Arkham City, and they were both excellent. I actually kind of like Arkham Asylum better because it's a tighter, more controlled game. I don't mind being railroaded sometimes, as long as I still feel like I have some options, and I feel like I'm, navigating my way through the game. Arkham City was just a little bit too open world for me, but I still enjoyed it greatly, and the storyline was great, and the voice acting, and no form of media ever has depicted Batman better than those two games. And I've heard that the good one, I've heard some mixed things about the new one, but overall that I've heard is pretty good, and I do want to try it. I also heard a lot of mixed things about Batman Arkham Origins, but I still want to try that as well. A friend of mine who's really into them says that Origins wasn't as bad as people claim it was. So I want to get to all of them, but yeah, the ones I've played are phenomenal. Have you watched the Flash or Arrow TV shows or ever watched Smallville? They are all pretty legit comic shows. I watched Smallville. I was keeping up for a while, and then I just got mixed up in other things and couldn't keep up with it. And then when I finally revisited it, I was like, I don't know. It kind of went in a weird direction. But I love the Flash, and to a lesser extent, I love Arrow. They're really awesome shows. Arrow's last season was brutal at times to get through. Not in like a storyline sense, just like it was not great. But The Flash had an awesome first season. Unfortunately, it can probably only go downhill, but I'm hoping that they maintain the fun factor of the show. Sorry for this. There's one person that asked like almost all these questions. Sorry for all questions, but your channel is awesome. Thank you very much. How much does it cost roughly to attend Gen Con? I want to go soon, but I live in California and I need to save money for after college. Well, it costs a lot, and this is probably not the time to be planning to go, because if you're planning for next year, then you've got a leg up there. The thing is, it's going to be tough to get a flight now, I think. You can't get hotel rooms that are close. But, I have found that you can get cheap flights if you're willing to do some research for it and go really hit up the websites ahead of time. If you're willing to stay at like a motel outside of town, that can be really cheap. I'm willing to do those things. Some people aren't. I'm not going to Gen Con because it's more, for me, I could bunk with someone again. I had someone, I can even drive up with someone and not have to fly. And so I've had these things offered to me, and that would be great. Some people that involved with Tom's channel. But I just can't do it time-wise. I don't think I can miss that much work again, having just missed a bunch of work at the start of the month or end of June, beginning of July. So that's just bad timing for me. I have toyed with the idea of getting like a red-eye flight the night before Gen Con, going to the con for one day, getting like a one-day pass, getting all the new games that I can, FedExing them back home, and then catching a flight back home, not even staying a night. That's the only reason I want to go to Gen Con. I think I'm not into like just the big spectacle type events, and there's not a lot of like actual gaming that goes on there unless you're talking about like True Dungeon. I'd rather just go there for the games, for my channel, and then get out. And that hopefully that would be kind of cheap. Have you ever been to San Diego Comic-Con? No. That'd be cool though. Nick, the documentary The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened is now out. Do you plan on watching it? Also, what are your thoughts on the Nick Cage Superman? I might watch it. It seems interesting to me, although I think I like just hearing the stories being retold to me in little snippets. Like Cracked Magazine talked a lot about that, or Cracked Online Magazine. A Nick Cage Superman would have been hilarious in all the wrong ways. I don't think it would have been actually legit or good, unfortunately. Excuse me. If you could, which two games would you combine to make something new? Oh, that's an interesting question. Let's look at my favorite games. I don't know. Actually, some of my favorite games I really wouldn't want to touch. I've always felt like games like Eldritch Horror, which are just kind of like big action selection games. You get a couple of action points on your turn, and you get to do these things. Even though they don't need to be longer, I wish they were a little bit meatier. So, like, I might want to have games like that have like a little bit of a deck building element, very light, like City of Iron. So that would be a cool thing. Mix up deck building with a lot of these games that are just like, here's a list of actions you can do, take two. I would much rather have it be like you can build your character up to a point. So maybe combine a game. Oh, you know what does that well? Combine Mythotopia with a game like Eldritch Horror, like where you have like stacks of cards that you can use to improve your character. I don't know. That's a neat idea. I'm gonna make it. Don't steal that. No, I'm not. Which games do you think could be made into a good film or TV series, live or anime? You need to go watch one of my least viewed top 10 lists, which is, I think it's like, probably because of the title, is really awkward. Like top 10 board games that would make great movies or something. And what did I choose? Well, I chose, what was my number one? I can't remember. Go watch it. I'm not going to spoil it. Which elements do you think make up a good instruction manual or booklet? Bullet points hitting all of the important points. I still blame myself for what happened with Viceroy, but the rule book did not help that much. For that reason, there was like some important points off to the side, bulleted, and then some very important points buried in paragraphs of text. Explicitly have the setup and the goal of the game on the first couple of pages. Boom! Right there. You want to put storyline blurbs? Put them on the front cover. As soon as I flip open that rule book, I want the setup right there. Right there, okay? I want examples at every single step. I want pictures illustrating what the hell you're talking about. Those are what I want in a rule book. Nick, what are your thoughts on the Viceroy shipping debacle? Speaking of Viceroy, should there be repercussions for advertising the campaign as Canada and EU friendly and then taking it back after funding? I have to be honest, I have been out of the loop on that. I have not been following that as diligently as I should because I've backed so many Kickstarters at this point that if one of them is late, it's just like, oh, look, they're shipping delays, whatever. Also, I was able to get a copy of Viceroy early. I backed it, Viceroy, by the way. That's the funny thing. I'll be getting another copy of the game. So this one will be available for trade soon. But I'll have to look into that. I don't want to make a snap judgment. I've already made enough snap judgments regarding Viceroy this week that I've had to apologize for. I would say if that is the case, if they went back on their word, then that sucks. I will also say, however, sometimes that shit is unavoidable, if you don't mind me cursing. You're talking about a business. I work in one of the most high-stress industries in the country, the printing industry, and sometimes if you don't want your company to go under, if you don't want to take a major debilitating hit, you have to do things that are not optimal for the customer. And that sucks. I'm just saying, give them the benefit of the doubt. if it means that you're put out, hopefully they're going to make it right. But if it just means that the project is a little bit later for you, hopefully you'll cut them some slack. If it means that you're going to lose a lot of money on it because of shipping, that's another issue. But I would be hesitant to throw them under the bus completely for that. Just knowing what I know about other Kickstarter campaigns and the problems they have with shipping, it's just a nightmare. They need to get that right. Nick, you said Barbarossa can be in bad taste to some. Do you think Hostage Negotiator has a worse theme? There's a school teacher villain who goes postal that kind of gives it a Columbine setting. I don't think so, because it's interesting. I was listening to the Game Boy Geek talking to Jamie from the Secret Cabal, and he talked about Mayday, and he mentioned very briefly, it's kind of a throwaway line, that kind of theme would never fly in the U.S., and because it's like a bunch of terrorists who are hidden amongst a group who might be trying to hijack the plane, and you all have to get to the cockpit. I think that while themes like that can be kind of tough, and some people might be sensitive to them, I don't find it offensive, because you can be... I think in Hostage Negotiator, you are a hostage negotiator. You're the good guy. And I know that good is a relative thing. So I think that it's all perspective. In Barbarossa, you are women soldiers of the SS, essentially. Even if, you are that. And it may be cute anime girls, but you have to expect that people are going to find that offensive, because you're essentially painting the most vile, villainous people in history, whether they were just following orders or not for some of them. You're painting these people in a positive light, and that's never going to be that okay. Whereas in Hostage Negotiator, you are not that person. You are trying to stop that person. And in that case, while it might seem a little bit insensitive, I don't think it's offensive. What game required a house rule for you to be willing to play it? Well, up until it became an official rule, because that's how it was supposed to be the whole time, Dark Seas was that way, where everyone should play simultaneously for the most part. Good question. Here's the thing, though. I don't like to play with house rules. I'm at this point now where I have so many games, I have so many more coming in, that I don't want to take the time to fix your game. So if it's not right off the bat, unless you're the designer, like happened with Dark Seas, and you message me and tell me explicitly that should not be that way, then I'm probably not going to bother to house rule it, and I'll just move on. Should players' past behaviors, criminal records, result in them being banned from competition and gaming company-sponsored events? Well, okay. That's a very specific question, because I'm not sure exactly what you mean by gaming company-sponsored events. Well, I guess you mean like Wizards of the Coast Magic tournaments, or like Settlers of Catan tournaments, things like that, officially sponsored by the company. Look, I think as a culture we have a tendency to, if you have any kind of criminal history, you are pariah. You are, hide that shit, because if people find out about it, you are just going to be like excised from everything, and no one will trust you. That is the culture that we live in now, where there's no such thing really as a second chance unless you can hide it well. If you have any kind of record, people will immediately think less of you. I think personally that's sad, because I have known people in my personal life who have made very bad mistakes and have gone to jail for them and have paid the price. And even though supposedly it's supposed to be that if you're in the criminal justice system for whatever, maybe you don't go to jail, maybe you just get probation, maybe you pay a fine, whatever it is, it's supposed to be that's the penalty. You screwed up, you have to pay a harsh penalty, and then you are allowed to rejoin society. But the reality is that is not it. People will constantly judge you. People will constantly keep wanting to penalize you over and over and over again. And I think it's bad enough for a lot of these people who probably had, even if, let's say that it is a serious offense. Let's say that it is something that you would be like, whoa, that's bad, assault, or, anything short of like murder or rape, if they stole a ton of money or whatever it might be. If they did their time, and if you think that they're a good person, I don't think that they should be continually punished over and over and over again. Again, unless it's something really bad. And so, should someone be banned from like gaming events? These are supposed to be for fun, okay? If they're not in any position of harming anyone, if it's not for like, even if it is for money. I mean, some of these Magic tournaments are for a lot of money. But so what? Anyone has the potential to cheat or to do wrong. Or I mean, if you're saying that you shouldn't trust people like that in those kind of situations, anyone, and we've seen this time and time again, can be a cheater, can screw up. People who have no criminal history. How would you know ahead of time? And how do you know that this person, because he performed one type of criminal act, would be likely to perform another of a different kind, or even the same kind again, having been punished in the past? I think we have a serious problem in this country with just completely throwing people away for a lot of different reasons, but especially for criminal activity when everybody screws up. And there's probably a lot of people who break the law every day in a lot of different ways. They just don't get caught. So I would be, I'm sorry, E. Burr. Maybe it's just a general question, and you're not trying to cast too many aspersions on people like that. But I think in general, I would be very cautious about that. Everyone deserves a second chance, and I think that gaming and being socialized with people, and if they want to play in a tournament setting, okay, is a great way to rehabilitate people if they really do have a criminal history. That's my thought. I wonder what Nick's choice in liquid refreshment will be for the Q&A. It is rum and Diet Coke. I also have a coffee sitting out there, but it didn't look as good on camera. I don't have any beer. I have nothing. In fact, there's the marathon for Risk Legacy tomorrow. Check that out, by the way, please. I would like to have as many people watching and asking questions. I'll try to answer when it's not my turn. I have nothing. So I have to either run out and find a store that's open after this Q&A or find something open really early tomorrow to get some stuff. And hopefully people are bringing stuff with them because I'm not going to buy a lot. Now I've caught up to when people couldn't hear me. How much flack did you get about Barbarossa? None, really. I haven't had anyone say, I can't believe you reviewed that. I did not, however, post it on the Dice Tower. You may notice or not that when Tom relaunched the website, he allowed other reviewers, I think the two major ones that are not part of his network are me and Joel Eady of Drive Thru Review. We post our videos there, our video reviews specifically, just the reviews. Two videos I have not posted there specifically are Lap Dance and Barbarossa. Maybe Barbarossa I could get away with, especially since I was critical of the theme, but I just don't think Tom wants to see that. He would probably delete it. So I avoided some flack just by not doing that. But for the most part, everyone's been pretty understanding. I mean, because I think I said what I meant to say about that pretty clearly, that I don't condone the theme at all, even if I'm not necessarily offended by it. But it was just a stupid thing to do. And I think that no one's had the gut reaction of not even watching the video and saying, I can't believe you reviewed this, which I have gotten before for reviews in the past. What did you think of Blood Rage? Unfortunately, one of my deep regrets of Dice Tower Con is what I didn't manage to corner Eric Lang to play that, or he didn't make time for me, one way or the other. It looks awesome. All right, Kabuki Kid obviously feels very, very passionately about the theme of Barbarossa. Not nearly as passionately as me. Any thoughts on the Kickstarter game Apothum? Do you mean... Yeah, okay, Apotheca. I am kind of thinking alchemy is becoming the new zombies. It looks pretty, though. Nick, do you have Nexus Ops, or have you reviewed it? Just played it recently and bought it. Love that one. I do have it. Somewhere. Even though I never play it, I can't bear to get rid of it because it was a really neat game when I played it, but it's been a long time since I played it. I have the latest edition, though, the one from Fantasy Flight. It's fun. Would you get an anime hugging pillow? If yes, what character? I wouldn't hug it, but I might get one if it was a character I liked enough. Have you guys ever seen my mouse pad, by the way? Here, I'm sure I'll anger someone with this. Let me make sure I don't know. It's by the way, it's really this just looks bad, right? It's because I've been using it for so long, it's not like it was. There's this big flat space in between here. That just looks really bad. But they used to be full bosoms. Get that on tape and loop it. Full bosoms. Full bosoms. I don't know. I just had to have it. I know. But it's... And before that, I had one that came for free with the game Legends of Agarest or Agarest War. I had like the deluxe version of that, and with the character I don't even know. And so when that one wore out and like the jelly pack busted open, I got a new one. Oh, that's ridiculous. But would I get an anime hugging pillow? Probably not, though, just because I don't have a use for it. Like this, I have a use for. I wanted a mouse pad with the guard on it. Have you tried Epic? Nope. Nick, are you going to get the new Holocaust cutie Nazi game with a scantily clad Dr. Mengele add the tentacle porn expansion? You know I would. Sure, I'll review anything. Gen Con predictions. I think it's going to be a boring Gen Con. Sunday, I am going to publish my top 10 anticipated games of Gen Con for 2015. This will be my third time doing it because that was one of the very first videos I ever posted when I started my channel. So this will be the third time I'm doing it. And I am so far not hearing about things. I'm sure I'll easily be able to get 10, but it's not gonna be like last year. Last year, I think for me was like a benchmark year. You think of like Dead of Winter, Abyss, Lords of Zidit. I mean, I already had Dead of Winter, but just games that came out around Gen Con. There was the Battle of Kemble's Cascade. I mean, there were so many really cool-looking games coming out. I'm not getting that feel. If I had to pick one right now, though, and even I got Magic already, so that kind of is a buzzkill. I'm looking forward to almost everything from Portal. I've heard bad things about Rattle Battle, but I really love Tides of Time. I wish I would be there to get a copy of that. I really am looking forward to the Atlanteans expansion, which is supposed to be there. So those are at least a couple of things I'm really excited about. But as far as like things I can predict, like other releases, I don't know. People keep saying Fantasy Flight will drop some major news, but I think they're just coasting on the stuff that they have. Rate my next purchase: Magic the Gathering Arena of the Planeswalkers, Dark Moon, Jamaica, Flick 'em Up, Terrible, or Awesome Sauce. Are you saying you've already purchased these? I think that's a fine allotment of games. I haven't played Jamaica, but I have it. I got it in a trade. It's sitting on my trade stack or on my to be played stack right now. And I've heard good things about Flick 'em Up. I like Arena of the Planeswalkers a lot, as you can tell from my review. I have played Dark Moon, and I am going to review it soon. Here, let's do this part of the thing here then, because it's getting late. So yes, I have Dark Moon. I actually got this in a trade, believe it or not. I won't name the person's name, but I think they were another reviewer who did not like it so much, so they traded it to me out of the blue. So it's kind of cool. I traded. I won't even say that. It's probably too much information. I played it once. I need to play it again, at least one more time. I liked it though. I think it has some problems, but I also think I'm probably keeping it, so that's a good sign. So let's go through some things. I'm going to show you some things I traded for first, because I thought it was cool. So in one single trade, this was great, because I got some rare stuff all at once. I got the Palaces of Carrara. This is actually the original German edition, but I've been really wanting a copy of this for a while, but never wanted to spend 70 to 80 bucks for it, because Z-Man printed like 200 in English. That's an exaggeration, but they didn't print much. Finally got Rococo, which I am man enough to play a game about making dresses. In fact, I want to get a copy of Predaporter, which is also out of print. I'm trying on that one. I've got my own copy of Study in Emerald, the first edition. When the second edition was announced and they said they're not making any more of the first edition, I was like, you know what? I want my own copy. So I traded for that. So all three of those games were part of the same trade. The box is messed up. You know, if it was a less expensive game, I wouldn't care. For some reason, that bothers me. Oh well. At least I have a copy now. And I'll still get the second edition. Also in a trade, I got Die Macher, which is very out of print and hard to get. This is all part of the same trade too. Not those, but there was that one. Theseus, which is one of the only Portal games I still didn't get. Which is supposedly is best with 2 players. I'm wondering about that. And here's the granddaddy. A new in shrink copy of Carnival Zombie, which I've wanted for quite some time. It has a very odd shaped box. It's like not a Ticket to Ride box, but it's not like a coffin box either. I don't know why. Now, before you say anything, I know that there's a second edition Kickstarter coming out soon. You might be like, why did you bother? Because I still wanted to play it ahead of time, because who knows when the second edition is actually going to be delivered. I know the Kickstarter will be like in the fall, but who knows how long after that. And I can still just get the upgraded parts from the Kickstarter, so there's no point in not getting the game now. And I just really wanted to play it and review it, and hopefully when that Kickstarter launches, I'll have a bump in the views for the video. Now, just other stuff I've picked up over time that you might be interested in, either from review copies. Well, first off, late tonight, you'll see reviews for Guns and Steel. I I can't believe I let Vassal. I gave Vassal his copy of this game, and he beat me to it. That's my fault. Dark Tales will be going up tonight together with the Snow White expansion. I'll do a separate video for that. I will have my second revised review of Viceroy. And actually, just in the mail today, they sent me the gems for it. I actually think I might prefer the tokens, but I'll still use them in the review. Other stuff you'll see soon. Here's some stuff I picked up today. I haven't even busted out of the shrink wrap yet. A little card game called Rumpelstiltskin. This was actually sent to me for review. This is Dragon Flame from Minion Games. Was not happy with the last Minion game I reviewed, which is Dead Men Tell No Tales, but I'm hoping this is better. This is the very stupidly worded cash tie-in Game of Crowns. But I'll tell you, I love the artwork on it, and I'm still going to give it a shot, and I'll make fun of the name mercilessly, just like the game, but it still might be a good game. I couldn't help myself and bought 2 more boxes of Force of Will. Let's just put those away. You don't need to focus on that. And I bought Cthulhu's Vault, which I was shocked for the price of it, which was like $20 or $25, something like that. It comes in like a really nice tin. It just looks cool. I've heard mixed things about it, but I just really want to try it. It's from Lanius. It's like a storytelling Cthulhu game. I'm hoping it's good. Storytelling games usually are bad for me, but maybe this is the one. Other things that I actually had during Dice Tower Con that I still need to get to. The new edition of Sushi Draft, which you can watch my Sushi Draft review. I like the game a lot. Maybe I'll just review this for the hell of it because it looks different. Like I have like 3 reviews of Sushi go up. Fake Artist in New York will be going up sometime next week. Also, Spit It Out will be going up next week. I already played that quite a bit. Looney Quest will also be going up. I can already tell you I like it better than Doodle Quest, of course. And I keep perpetually delaying this. I know people are mad at me because I've promised it a few times now, but Camp Grizzly will be going up maybe Sunday. Also, Bright Future. I'm not sure where that is. I'll be getting to that one. Okay, that's that for now. I think we're running out of time. Yeah, this really flew by, guys. I'm sorry about that. Well, I'll give you a little bit of extra time, but then I got to get to work. I have to film a bunch of reviews, try to go to the store, clean this place up, and set up for tomorrow morning. It's insane. And I have to try to get a good night's sleep. But I feel bad when I don't ask too many questions. It's not like I get as many questions as Vassal. I just talk too much. What did happen with Viceroy? I read your post. Was it just a major rules mistake then? Just read my review. It's one rule that you might think like, oh, really? That really changed your opinion? It massively changed my opinion. Watch the review and I'll explain. Kabuki Kid said she just played Arena of the Planeswalkers and loved it. Yeah, I know. And they can't wait for the expansions. Yeah, that's the fault of that game is that it needs expansions. Any thoughts on the new Sigmar game from Games Workshop? Is that the new, like, battle set? I don't know. Yeah, the Age of Sigmar starter set. I think it looks amazing, but it's still the game. I mean, I don't want to get into a miniatures game like that. I still have Relic Knights sitting there, but man, the price is right for that for sure. If you've wanted to get into Warhammer, fantasy in particular, that looks like an amazing value. They're so cool looking. That's like a great entry point, but it's just not for me right now. Didn't hear you on the Dice Tower podcast this week. Yeah, I've been kind of slacking that. I don't know if I'm going to keep contributing to the podcast. It's okay. That doesn't really... I want to... See, I don't want to be, like, completely enmeshed in the Dice Tower, but I want to do it when it makes sense, when it's good for my channel, to promote my channel, and so on. And that's not a great way to do that. Most people, I think, skip through the contributors, because I know I did before my voice was on it. But I'll probably do it more in the future, but I just skipped it the last few weeks. Do you have a favorite racing game? I don't play a lot of racing games. I hadn't played most of the ones that Tom and Eric mentioned. I just listened to that podcast today, actually, by coincidence. But I do like Magical Athlete, so maybe that's my favorite racing game, sadly. I have Jamaica sitting over there. I guess you consider Jamaica a racing game, but I haven't played it yet. What is your favorite pizza topping, Nick? Pepperoni or sausage are kind of interchangeable. If there's one or the other on it, I'll be happy. If there's both, it's awesome. Star Realms card game or the Star Realms app? I will always prefer to play the physical versions of deck building games. I know that's antithetical because an app makes playing deck building games awesome in a way because it does all the shuffling for you, but I love the feel of building a deck, like physically building a deck. So that's how I would do it. Having said that, it's much easier to play the app. Nick, was launching Arena of the Planeswalkers with no expansions a bad move? There doesn't seem to be much content in the box. I thought about that too. I think it was a matter of time, although they had plenty of time. They demoed this game last year at Gen Con. I do think they probably should have had some stuff available. Like even Imperial Assault had some miniatures I think you could buy right at the time of launch. Yeah, just terrain. There should have been a terrain pack, really. I think that was the big thing. A terrain pack and maybe a spell card pack. And then have the Planeswalkers come out slowly over time. Do like a big expansion that has like 2 or 3 Planeswalkers in it. There's a lot of Planeswalkers at this point. Wow, even for the new ones. Since like 2007 or 8. But yeah, there should have been something, but I still think they're going to make a ton of money if the game. It doesn't matter. Nick, thank you for all your videos. You're welcome. Can you recommend some good 2-player worker placement games? I'm looking at Belfort, but could use some suggestions. I haven't played Belfort. It's on my review stack, so I don't know about that. 2-player worker placement games. Wow, man. Sometimes the very specific questions trip me up. I'm not afraid to admit my ignorance in this fact because I have a deep knowledge of a bunch of games, but not a wide breadth of knowledge about some knowledge about many games. But as far as worker placements, I think that Lords of Waterdeep still works better with less players, despite the fact that the last expansion made it 6. Don't ever do it with 6. I think 2 would actually work okay if you can. Other types of worker placements? Sorry, man. I'm racking my brain here. Yido. Yeah, because Yido's really long with the full complement of players. But it's a great game. So if you played it with 2, it'd probably be much, much faster. That's an idea. What Tonto Quarry has the cutest, most huggable maids? I'm not buying it for the mechanics. Not for that I have Legendary, but I want to buy it because it looks cute. Well then. I don't know. I think they all look really cute. I haven't compared the cuteness level. That's an interesting April Fool's video I should probably do. I already have my next April Fool's video planned out though, so I can't. I think the new one, Oktoberfest, looks like it'll have the most cute girls because they'll be barmaids with like beer in their hands. But I'll just say any of the first 3, you can't go wrong. The last one, Romantic Vacation, has more girls in swimsuits, so if that is your thing or not your thing, buy accordingly. The first 2 sets, mostly the same theme. Did you get to play Dark Moon yet, Nick? Thoughts on it regardless? Yes, I did, as I said before. It's fun. I don't think it's fantastic. It certainly does not replace Dead of Winter or Shadows over Camelot for me at all, but it's still a fun game. I'm not even sure it replaces BSG, as others have said. Would you prefer to play a variety of games on your game nights or beast mode one game most of the night? That is entirely dependent on the game itself. Mostly, I'd like to do a variety of games, and if I have to hit another game again, I'll do it on a separate night. But sometimes, like when Elysium, when I first played that, I'm like, we're playing this again. Sorry. Because I had to play it again. And Viceroy was like that too when I first got it. Obviously tomorrow we'll be doing Risk Legacy 15 times in a row. But for the most part, I would rather have a variety. You can get burned out on a game too quickly, I think. But you gave the example of Imperial Assault. If it was a campaign game, I think I would prefer to sit there and do as much of it as I could. Any news on a board game Brawl Kickstarter? I would love to do it. I always am jealous when I see other reviewers doing their Kickstarters. Drive Through Review did it. Rado does it. Obviously, Tom does it. Marco Wargamer did it. And and I've had great success, and I get jealous, but I don't feel comfortable doing it. First off, I'm still digging people for Patreon and not giving them any rewards, which I feel terrible about. That is high on my priority list to fix. But I just want to have a good reward to hand out, and I don't have promos from companies. I might do a system of, like, if you pledge at this level, you get to vote on the games I can review, but I never let people really guide what I'm going to review anyways. I just review what I want to review, so that's weird. I want to do t-shirts, and I have fantastic ideas for t-shirts that involve, like, my beagles and gaming, but it's hard to get that together. I work for a freaking company that could do it, but I'm wondering whether or not I want to mix work with pleasure. That could be dangerous. I think if my boss knew how much time and effort I spent on this as opposed to work, he'd probably be very upset about that. Not rightfully so, because I still put a lot of effort into work, but I don't think he would see it that way. Nick, you mentioned in a previous live show... I missed the rest of that. Sorry. Oh, there we go. You mentioned in a previous show you were about 3 hours south of Orlando. You close to Fort Myers? I feel like Fort Myers is like 2 hours away from me. There's a wide swath of like nothing between me and like Central Florida. So I'm pretty far from everything that's not South Florida. I know that sounds weird. Nick, if I owned a game store, I would have free in-city delivery for in-store pre-orders and orders. Yeah, I mean, but I don't think that's going to be a game changer for a lot of people. Jurassic World was crap indeed. I agree. I know. I should have watched Mad Max in theaters. Oh, I will watch it. Maybe I'll make a special effort to go see that one theater that's showing it. Are you doing a Boss Monster 2 review? Probably not. I plumbed the depths of Boss Monster twice. I did my initial review of it and said it was a decent game that was probably not going to be very replayable. I did a follow-up review exactly a year later where I said, yeah, this was not replayable, and I burned down on it very, very quickly. It's just not a great game. It's probably not even a good game. And for that reason, I don't feel the need to go out of my way to play Boss Monster 2 and pile on. I don't think it's changed enough or at all. Wow, Kabuki Kid really, really hates Barbarossa. Don't follow the path of hatred, young Padawan. For the Dice Tower rewards, was there a winner Dice Tower awards, you mean? Was there a winner that surprised you? Not really. Almost every category was like, yeah, okay, that makes total sense. Even though there was a couple of like people that could have gone either way, I still wasn't really shocked by anything. The only one maybe was Best New Designer, which was won by Alchemist. Most people thought it would be Splendor, but even that was not like a huge surprise because it's not really a major category. Not to crap on it, but it's just not. People don't care about that category. There was just a lot of things that were very, very obvious to me. Here, I still have the list up on my computer. I had to put it all on a sticky note. That was a pretty bad nightmare for me to put together. It'll be easier in the future, I think, because I'm going to do it as I get the votes in. But things that surprise me, best party game, no. Spyfall. I have to say I'm slightly surprised by Spyfall, only because the game was not very available. I think a ton of people print and played that. No, I mean best artwork. By the way, here's the points. These are not votes, they're points because we use a point system based on people's votes. Abyss had 172 points. Its closest competitor was Imperial Assault with 90 points. It's insane. Oh, there's one game that got 0 votes. There's only one game that got 0 votes in its category. It was Cluster Fight and Best Party Game. 0 votes. Best components went to Imperial Assault. That shouldn't be a surprise, but for some reason I still thought that Zaya would have it. Zaya ended up in 3rd right behind Colt Express. Stupid. Best 2-player, Star Realms was 115 points, and that wasn't surprising to me that they would win, but Dice Masters was only 7 points away, and I thought that could have gone either way. I think the only reason Dice Masters didn't win decisively was because of the availability problems in the beginning that turned some people away, and then the collectible nature of the game is something that hardcore gamers, which is what most of the people who voted in our system was, or were, because it was mostly hardcore gamers, they will never, ever accept the CCG. So having said that, I'm surprised it's as high as it is. Best cooperative game was a lock for Dead of Winter. Best strategy game was a lock for Five Tribes. Imperial Settlers was within 20 points of it, though. Best expansion was the least voted on category, and the top 3 were 71 points, 73 points, and 75 points. So it was close, but Tuscany was the winner. No surprise there. Best new designer was Alchemist. Best family game, Camel Up. I thought Splendor would have... Oh, no, I'm sorry. Splendor did win that. Best game from a small publisher, Star Realms. No surprise there. I wish it was paperback. I thought paperback had much more of an edge, but didn't. Most innovative game, Tragedy Looper. That surprised me. Okay, I will say that surprised me only because I didn't think that many people liked Tragedy Looper. I will say one Z Garcia was very unhappy that won. I didn't know he disliked that game so much. Best theming, Dead of Winter. Yeah. Although that could have gone a lot of different ways. I wouldn't have been surprised if something else had won there. Game of the Year, no surprise there. And I said that it was close, but I kind of lied. I went through this last time I did a Q&A, but yeah, it was a 24 point difference between Five Tribes and Dead of Winter. How do you go about looking for an out-of-print rare game? I look it up online, see if people are trading it, because I don't want to spend the money for it. And then I trade a whole stack of games. That's how I got not Imperial Assault, Queen's Gambit. Have you backed Carson City on Kickstarter? No, that game might be great, but the Wild West theme does not appeal to me. If someone brings it to me, I'll play it. How about a top list of solo games? I need to play more of them first. I don't have enough to make a good list. Someday I will, though. I want to be like the one person that does it. Did you back Zombicide Black Plague? I backed it for $1, and I need to fix that pledge pretty soon before, because I watched the beginning of my Q&A where my credit card get messed up. But yeah, I'll pledge for a full night level at some point. Nick, your shirt is amazing, and the beard is a keeper. Thank you very much, Cheryl. You're too kind. Combine Forbidden Stars or Elder Tor with Tonto Quarry or Barbarossa. Now there's an idea. Now you're thinking. Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. Forbidden Stars with deck building elements. That'd be kind of cool. I think that's StarCraft, though. Do you have any remakes of chess that you would recommend? No, because I don't even like chess. Would you say that BGG needs to be redesigned? I feel like it's an uber noob. But that site seems really cluttered to me. No, everyone agrees that site needs to be redesigned and cluttered. It is not just you, David, so don't worry about that. It's an ugly, ugly site. And I don't have an issue with it now because I have very specific places that I go. I go to my profile, I mess with my collection, I go to certain forums that I like, I look at the hot lists and see what threads are really tracking. I follow all of the news blog posts from Eric Martin and his contributors, and I use the trade system and Geek List for that. There's a lot of that site I don't use because either I don't have an interest in it, or I'm like, you know what, I do have an interest in it, but I don't want to deal with the hassle, and I don't know all the esoteric little tricks of the site, nor do I want to learn. Because they make it so tough. I know there's things that I could do in my settings to make my experience better, like adding hot pages and things like that, and quick keys. I think there's some stuff up on the top of the screen, but it's all so ugly and unuser friendly. And I hate to say that because without a doubt, Board Game Geek is like a marvel of the board gaming community. It is like the New York Times is to journalism at this point. It's something that I don't want to know where we would be without it, really, and what it has contributed to the community. But I don't think anything is beyond constructive criticism, and the site is hideous. Do you like NBA 2015? I'm going to say no. You can always tell people who are just kind of passing by. That's cool, man. Don't go anywhere. Thoughts on the relaunch of the Immortal game? I did a preview for it, so I don't really feel comfortable in talking about my opinion of it, but I don't know, did it fund or not? Does it need a little bit more help? I think he asked me to post about it on Facebook and Twitter again, which I'll probably do because why not? But I don't know. If it seems the art was great, if it seems like something that appeals to you, check it out. But I'm glad that they're doing better, I think, this time. What is your favorite game? Seasons, for now. That Magic tournament thing is bullshit. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, explain yourself then. Sorry I'm late, but where is this correction to the Viceroy review? Later tonight. Oh, this was a thing that happened? Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a story associated with the question about someone's criminal record. I will have to look that up. Let's really stir crap up. What are your views on the Confederate flag? I think that if you are... I think that John Oliver and Robin Quivers of the Howard Stern Show said it best, and maybe Robin was copying John Oliver. If I kind of like it to a degree when someone is wearing something associated with the Confederate flag, because that easily tells me I do not want to interact with that person at all and saves me a lot of time. But really, in all seriousness, it's a sign that you are an ignorant person. You are either a racist, outright, in some form or another, or you are willfully ignorant of the racist overtones because you don't want to deal with it, you don't want to admit it, and you can keep saying heritage, not hate, as much as you want, but you are lying to yourself and to everybody else. It's garbage, and I wish it didn't exist anymore. And other than in a museum, I agree. There's, Apple should not have taken down any historical games that have the Confederate flag. People should not stop making war games if they want to that involve the Confederate forces versus the Union forces. Do whatever you want in a historical context. It should not be on public property, and I don't want to see. I mean, you can wear it all you want. I mean, it's a free country. But I don't want to see it on public property, and I don't want to see government entities endorsing it. And I want people, I wish that people would admit why they really have it on themselves. That's what I feel about it. See, I didn't know that there was a specific story involved with this. I will have to check that out. Yeah, I'm curious about the risk legacy thing too, because I know a lot of people don't want spoilers, but I also know that the game is out of print, and I also know that there are people who are not going to play it ever because they don't want to play Risk. And I get that. So I feel like there's still a semi-large contingent of people who would be interested. Whether or not they're going to watch or not, I don't know. I want to know what the most embarrassing thing you have ever done. So many. I did so many embarrassing things when I was a kid. Walking into the girls' restroom when I was like in first grade, and I'm sure I pooped my pants at inopportune times. If you're talking about like in modern history, I don't know. Hey, here's something funny. When I was at Dice Tower Con, I was in the elevator. I was often just wandering off by myself, running back up to my hotel room and not getting games and coming back down. And I was in the hotel elevator once of the tower that I was staying in. And there's like different towers and things like that in this hotel complex. And there was one other guy in the elevator with me who got on. And then there was this very attractive woman who also got onto the elevator. Now, at a certain point, everyone's just quiet and silent, and nobody's saying anything. And I don't even think those people were there for the con. The elevator stopped at a floor, and the woman got off, and it wasn't my floor. Now, I swear to you, for whatever reason, sometimes I'm just nosy, I peeked around the corner of the elevator where I was standing. I was sitting back in the corner, and I peeked around the elevator door as the door opened, as the woman walked out, to see if there was anyone out there, just to see another floor of the hotel, right? The guy who was in the elevator with me thought I was checking out her ass. And so when I stopped looking around the corner of the elevator, I looked back, and our eyes met, and he was like, yeah. I'm like, and I just looked away. I'm like, I was mortified. Like, no, that's not what I meant. And that is not the first time that happened. When I was on our junior high field trip, we were, it was at a zoo. This was like 6th grade. 6th or 7th grade, something like that. 7th, I don't know, between 6th and 8th grade. And we were at a zoo for our field trip, the Cleveland Zoo. Don't ask. Yeah, I don't know. It's whatever. And it was at the otter exhibit. I stopped at the otter exhibit at one point. I was just wandering around by myself, but there were groups of kids all around. And I love otters. Love otters. One of my favorite animals. I just loved watching them cavort and all that. While I was there is a part where you can look down and they're in the water, and there's just a glass there. So I'm watching them in the water. At the same time, there is this very buxom woman with a tank top with her cleavage just totally hanging out, staring down. And I was above her, like she was leaning down and I was standing above her. And we were both looking at the same spot where the otters were. And I swear to you, I was only looking at the otters. But some of the bros from my class saw me, like, as the woman walked away, they're like, yeah, Nick, you get a good look? I'm like, what the I can't win, man. And, hey, I'm perverted a lot of the time, just not at those times. Do you ever buy or sell using eBay? Yeah, when I finally can't get rid of games via trading and I'm sick of seeing them, I'll just sell them on eBay. I won't make much of a profit. eBay dings me as well with their fees, but I just need to get rid of them. I'm going to guess Tom's never been to your house. Tom would never, ever associate with me outside of channel stuff. That's not true. I don't know why I just said that. We go to dinner and stuff, but I'm saying he would never come up and visit me. No way. I'm afraid essentially this guy's asking, I'm afraid the Magic the Gathering board game would kill Summoner Wars. No. I think they felt very different to me. Looking forward to Bomb Squad from Tasty Minstrel. Oh no, I lost my place. Looking forward to Bomb Squad from Tasty Minstrel. You're asking me that. No, because I'm not a huge fan of Tasty Minstrel for the most part, and that just didn't interest me, but Dan King loves it. Have you ever checked out Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective? Thoughts? I have it sitting right there, and I will play it solo eventually. I'm going to explicitly play that one solo and see how it goes. There's some games that, even though they could be played with multiple players, I'm only going to play them solo. I have determined that, and I will announce that in my review so everyone knows. Have you played Dead Drop? No, I'm curious about it, but again, it's from a company I don't typically like, Crash Games, so... Yeah, I know. Too much force of will. And I haven't even played it yet. Nick, are there any games that you are embarrassed to... That's embarrassing. Are there any games that you're embarrassed to admit that you have played or that are part of your collection? Well, I'm actually... Okay, Kabuki Kid's going to unsubscribe. I'm probably keeping Barbarossa only for the kitsch value because... I don't know. I just can't bear to get rid of it because it is such an oddity, but I have it shoved down in the bottom of my shelf and will probably never actually play it again. But yeah, I'm not ashamed of games like Tantacore. Magical Athlete's a little embarrassing because it is a stupid looking roll and move game, but I don't know. If I own a game and it's on my shelf, I'm willing to admit that I play it. Tom skips like 50% of the questions. I know, because he doesn't want to repeat himself. I don't really want to either, but I'll still touch on things. Can I be a flying pregnant potato dolphin hybrid? If you believe that you can be. What's your go-to alcohol drink? I mean, if I want to just drink casually, it's hard ciders like Angry Orchard or Strongbow. If I want to get effed up, Long Island iced tea. Do you think they will put out new Magic Planeswalker expansions as they put out new Magic the Gathering expansions since the first one came out? That's a great point, Mad Ash. I don't know if this was just fortuitous timing and them making a big push for all this new stuff for Origins, but... I mean, for the Magic the Gathering Origins? Would they do that? Maybe. But... That's really interesting. Huh. I kind of like the idea, actually. I'd be totally down with that, I guess. But I don't play Magic, but it wouldn't mean anything to me. But it's a good idea. What is your current Grail game? Well, I feel like I've gotten a lot of the Grail games I wanted. Predaporter is becoming harder and harder to get, and I still need to get a copy of it before they put out the new video game version. So I'm serious about that, by the way. I agree about the Tichu woman. Sorry. She's nice, but enough of the Tichu. Enough of the Tichu. I want to catch up and then I'm going to stop. Do you play video games? Very, very rarely, but I will probably start again because there's some amazing games coming out like Fallout 4. Okay, some good suggestions for 2-player worker placement games. Target, Robinson Crusoe. I always fail to think of that as a worker placement game, but you're absolutely right, Kabuki Kid. Tournay, never played it. Lords of Waterdeep does work well with 2. Thank you for backing me up. What's your opinion on the End of the World tabletop RPG? I thought it was very neat, and if I was more into role-playing games, I would probably play that more, and I'm looking forward to the next volume. I'll probably do another live play. Did you check out the Nuclear War Kickstarter? I looked at it briefly. I'll have to look at it again. Well, I think the reason my boss cares about my external hobbies as far as the board gaming channel is because he knows it's a channel, he knows it's a website. I mean, he knows it's a big entity now, and he thinks it might be more of a business than a hobby, which to some degree he's right. Cold Express beat Zaya in the components votes? Yes, by like 2 or 3 points, and it was a travesty. Oh, I hate that stupid train. Like, I've actually started to loathe that train because of things like that. Oh, yeah, For the Crown is a remake of chess. I haven't played it, though, but it comes very well regarded. I have it. I just haven't played it, like so many things. Oh, yeah, whoever runs Cool Stuff also runs Disc Golf Center. This is true. I got a tour of the main Cool Stuff facility in Maitland, Florida, which is very close to Orlando, when I went up for a wedding a couple months ago, and he showed me their disc golf store, which is in the same, they're in the same building, 2 different entrances. But they connect together, and I guess that was kind of like their original thing, or they started it up concurrently, and it's huge. Like I'm sorry, I forget the guy's name. He was telling me about it. One of the co-owners. He was like, "Yeah, it does very, very well, and it's only growing." And I was amazed. I had like so many questions, like, "What is it?" But yeah, it's a big deal, and they have a ton of stuff there if you ever want to check it out. So if you're actually into disc golf, check them out. I can attest to Cool Stuff service. They're great. What's your recommendation for good midweight worker placement games? Something heavier than Stone Age, Lords of Waterdeep, etc. I think Guido might be more towards the heavier end, but it's a great game. If you're already familiar with Lords of Waterdeep, you're probably fine. I think I'm catching up. Oh, snap. Oh, it gets harder when you get to the end of keeping track of questions. I'll have to check that thread about the magic thing. Is Gen Con overhyped for what people can get out of it? I think so. I think it's overhyped for board gaming people. I think that convention is still explicitly for role-playing gamers and CCGers. Although it's becoming more about board games, I think what you and I could get out of it as far as board games is less and less, unless you are only going there for the experience and to meet people. And that's why I haven't been like really super psyched to go. I like that cat stacking game you have. Is there any place that sells it? No, it's really hard to get. It's from Korea or Taiwan. I'm sorry. Have you played Godzilla Kaiju World Wars or got it for $39? No, it seems interesting to me though. What do you think about the Game of Thrones LCG 2nd edition? I hope it's better than the original because I was not super thrilled with the original. The artwork looks amazing though. From the Spiel nominees, what games do well 2-player? Machikoro, because Machikoro works well with any number of players, I guess. Or it's as good with any number of players. The game works well solo, so I'm sure it'll work well 2-player as well, although 2-player is probably the only player count I didn't play it at. So yeah. Mage Wars, Summoner Wars, or Arena of the Planeswalkers, which one wins? For me, at this point, I will say... It's tough. I'm going to say Summoner Wars for now, but I think Arena of the Planeswalkers with expansions and more terrain will eventually beat it. And Kabuki Kid says she will not unsubscribe for me, and that's all I could possibly ask for. And I'm going to end it there. I am leaving you, Adam. Sucker! No. All right, one last question. Stop asking questions. No, I'm not answering any more. I know what you're trying to do to me. Fine, I'll do some more. If you can go to Dice Tower Con, I would go. It's a lot of fun. If you just want to game, if you don't care about like just seeing a bunch of new games, because that's not what it's about. It's not about selling games there, although you can. There's a huge flea market. It's crazy. You should go there. If you just want to play games, it's an awesome place to game. What's the status on Relic Knights? Sitting in boxes. Are you putting a Gen Con sneak peek video? Sound us. Late Sunday, it will be up. Nick, can you update us on Kingdom Death Monster? Will you be the first to get a review out when it comes out? Probably not, because that's a lot of people are going to be clamoring for that, including people who do miniatures channels like Beasts of War, but I will do my best. I guarantee you I will scoop Vassal on it unless they send him a copy, and even then, look at how long it's taken them to get a copy of Shadows of Brimstone put together. All right. I'm sorry. We start at 8 a.m. tomorrow to answer that last question for the Risk Legacy. I love you guys. Thank you so much for bearing with me. I hope you had a lot of fun. I do. I swear this is one of the best things that ever came from having a channel, is being able to do these Q&As and interact with all of you awesome people. You're the best fans ever. Look forward to the marathon tomorrow and to some cool reviews coming up and to my top 10 list on Sunday. I can't wait. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a fantastic night and weekend. Bye-bye.